Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Today we're looking at life in the 1950s. In the UK, specifically the northeast of England, there's a town called Middlesbrough. In an outer part of this region of Middlesbrough, there's an area called North Ormesby, or as us North Ormesby dwellers like to call it, Doggy. So if I refer to it as Doggy or North Ormesby, it's the same place. You'll get the picture as we go along. I was born in Middlesbrough Maternity Hospital in 19th of May 1950. I returned home with my mother a couple of days later, where I met my sibling, an older brother, Barry, 3 years old at the time. My mum, Dorothy Nee Jones, and my dad, Arthur Edmund Pollard, an ex-RAF man and now a painter and decorator. Great skill, great repute in the days when he could jump from job to job. Little did I know I would repeat this process of jumping from job to job as my skills in the workplace increased. Back to the 1950s in North Ormesby. We were surrounded by family, had a grandfather 2 doors away. I should say I was born in 24 I lived in 24 Bargate Street, North Ormesby. It's a row of terraced houses, and at number 28 lived my grandfather, Grandpa Jones. A right character. Further family lived up and around the corner on the marketplace, and aunts and uncles would visit constantly. So lots of family, lots of contacts. The front door was hardly ever shut in Bargate Street, with people coming and going. That front door opened out onto the street. I guess you could say, describing the house, it was a 2 up and 2 down, because downstairs consisted of a front room, and then that led to a kitchen. That kitchen had a sink, a cooker, and a stairs to upstairs, with a large understairs cupboard. More of that later. The kitchen had a door, ill-fitting, but a door that led to the backyard. That backyard had space for a motorbike or a couple of bikes, a toilet, a coal house, and a space for your bin. It had a door to the back street and a hatch to the back street. This hatch in the past had been used by coalmen. In the 50s, coal came in sacks and would be left at the back door, I believe, and we would put it into the coal house. Yes, we had coal fires in the living room, and there was remnants of a fireplace in the bedroom above, although we never lit a fire in the bedroom above. My parents, they actually swapped the upstairs rooms about quite often. Sometimes my brother and I would be in the front room, sometimes in the back room. As we grew up, I guess the politics of living in such a small space made you try change and change about. Getting back to that fireplace in the downstairs living room, this was the day before electricity. Yep, gas lighting and no electric. Candles for bedtime and a cold dark walk down the backyard to go to the toilet. But everybody was the same, so we didn't consider it to be anything different. As the houses got more and more improved, some achieved electricity, but we at 24 still had the gas lighting. And years later, when I was working, I bought our first TV. It was a portable from Dixon's in Middlesbrough town centre, and it ran off batteries. Yep, it was a different lifestyle those days. So, no hot water, boiling kettles for everything, cooking on a basic oven. You wonder how on earth we lived such a fantastic life for eating and drinking, but we did. Lots of days you'd see bread on the go round the fireside. My mother like lots of other parents in Bargate Street, was very adept at cooking and budgeting, and we had a market twice a week just at the top of the street, so I guess food was readily available. We had a corner shop. I'm going to mention it. Mrs. Popple, stalwart of the community, a shop window full of sweets and goodies to entice you in. And when you went into the shop, I guess there was always tick allowed. Take something away and pay for it Thursday. Mrs. Popple had a daughter who became a counsellor and helped my mother considerably. She also had a granddaughter who swam to Olympic standard. She also had a dog. I can't remember what type of dog it was. It was little and squat, and it was fearsome. I'll remember the name later. Dogs, well, there were dogs in Doggy. My grandfather had had a Dalmatian before I was old enough to know him. That Dalmatian was stolen. I can remember the day I was in the large pram, so I was only a small baby, and I was outside Popple's corner shop. My mother was either in the shop or just entering or leaving, and she saw a van pull up and put the Dalmatian dog in the back of the van and drive off, and my mother was left with the doubt of whether she should run down to stop them, leaving me stranded, or try and get me down to the house. And that's what she did. Doggy, I don't remember thousands of dogs. I remember quite a few. We certainly had one dog that used to play with the rest of the kids on the marketplace when there was no market on. The marketplace was double-sided with a large toilet block, and that was our playing field for all the kids in the neighbourhood. We'd invent all sorts of games, cricket, football included, and yes, it included the dog. This dog would become a firm favourite, and when I grew older and used to get the bus to senior school, the dog would come and wait by my side for the O bus, and it was even known to get on the bus and try and sit alongside me until it was kicked off by the conductor. So these dogs, they were about, and my dad would tell stories of seeing a dog laughing as it played in a gravel bin. We had a number of dogs, my brother and I, as we grew up, but we never seemed to keep them for long. I guess there was lots of waifs and strays those days. My childhood was a happy one. I had lots of friends. Lots of people came to our house. I went to lots of other people's houses. Many a time we'd come home from school and have our tea in somebody else's house, or they would have their tea in our house. I'm going to end on one last tale of living in Bargate Street as a child. The downstairs front room had a table, and we would sit at the table for breakfast. The milkman used to deliver the milk with a horse and cart, and he had a horse called Nobler, and that horse knew all the children on the route, and we used to stand on a step or go out to meet Nobler and give it treats. One day, having breakfast, we realised we had no treats for the horse. What were we going to do? Well, it was decided for us. There was a crash and the front door burst open, and there was Nobler, head inside the house, front 2 feet across the step. What a sight! He was after the treat. The cat we owned at the time, if you ever own a cat, darted up the chimney and sat on a little shelf part way up the chimney. All this while the fire was still on. We had to put the fire out to get the cat out, eventually. And Nobler was coaxed out of the house with some kind of treat. I can't remember what it was, but it was probably jam and bread or something of the like. So that's what it was like growing up in the 50s in Doggy. Thanks for joining me. I may revisit Doggy again soon, depending on the comments. Thanks for watching.